the hospital and St. Andrew's Cathedral. That all was owned by the royalty. And so all our, whatever we did in services was at St. Andrew's Cathedral. So my roommate and I said, let's go to church Sunday morning. So we get dressed, and all of a sudden, boom, boom, what the heck? So we ran outside, and the trees were all going like that, you know, the planes were flying so low. And I said, oh my God, look, there's a big red thing on the bottom of the plane.
The planes actually flew
They
over.
flew over Queens, and you could see the pilot. They were flying that low, the trees were all rattling. And so we said, oh my God, look, you could see the pilot in the cockpit. So I ran in, and I called my brother Manuel. I said, hey, what kind of maneuvers are this? The dark planes are flying so low. And my brother says.
Your brother was at the services.
He was at home. I called him at home, and I said, what's that? And he says, this is not, nothing. He said, this is the real McCoy. Get back in your dorm and get under your bed. And I was so I told her, Amelia, this is the real thing. So she and I ran back, and we could hear the bombs, boom, boom.
But the people at church didn't know. They didn't tell you.
Well, we weren't at church yet. We had not left the hospital. We were on our way to go. And so when the bombing stopped, we heard the ambulance and all that. So she and I went out, said, let's go see what's happening, because look at all the ambulance coming over there. And so we went down there, and it wasn't ambulance. A lot of them were just trucks that had bodies in it. And so they had arms. We could see they just piled them in these cars, and the arms would be hanging out of the thing. And oh my God, I said, this is a real McCoy. This is real. We didn't know what had happened or anything. The radio was all
You
kind
were
of.
in what year of training, nursing training at this?
Didn't even have any training. This was 1941. We were
Yes,
just
you
when
just
I
started
graduated
nursing.
high school, and we
this
were
time,
just
that's right.
we were there, but we were just
Before
learning.
we went to nursing.
We were just learning little basic things, and our little capping ceremony was at St. Andrew's Cathedral. So we were just going there for church. So we run back into the thing, and everybody's the house mother's having us all come down, and this is early morning, so we're sitting there, and we could hear a lot of commotion and all that kind of stuff, and it's just scary, because by then everyone's trying to find out, and turn the radio on, and it says, this is the real McCoy, now just get off the streets and all that. We could ambulances, everything. University was closed, so we were going to the university. We didn't have any training. And then December 7th, that evening, they had so many patients in the hospital, and a lot of them were unconscious and dying. So they asked some of us, we need a few volunteers just to sit with patients. So my roommate and I said, let's you and I do it. So we went, volunteered. She had a patient, and I had a patient mine was a Japanese man, hers was Oriental too, and they were unconscious. They still were alive, but they said, all you do is sit here, and they gave us the number. They said, if this man stops breathing, you call this number, let us know. And so she and I sat there all from, maybe afternoon. It was still light. We spent the night with this man.
This person couldn't communicate or anything?
No, they were just completely out. And so I would reach out and feel my patient, see if they were, there's a movement.
Do you remember the name?
I don't remember the name. Oh, I don't even know the name, because at that time they were just picking them off of King Street or wherever it was, and they were bringing these patients in.
Well, this is from King. This is not from Pearl Harbor.
No, these are they dropped the bomb someplace down New Warner or someplace, and strafe. They were shooting. Some people were just shot. So a lot of them were just dead bodies.
Shot by the Japanese.
By the Japanese pilots, and so my brother, being military, told me, on the phone. He said, this is no. So I went out and said, oh, this is the real thing. I told my roommate, I was so scared. So she and I sat with patient, and all we did was prayed. I said, don't let my patient die. And I'd feel his chest. He was kind of like a middle-aged man. We didn't know his name, because they were just picking him off of the street, bringing him in. And so later on, people would have to come to identify when they missed, somebody didn't come home, so they would come to the hospital to see if they could find that. And we're the doctors. Now I found out that Tripler had so many patients, hundreds were wounded, so they were asking the civilian doctors for help. So the civilian doctors were up there. So we had interns, you know, and so not one person came into the room while I was sitting with this patient, and I would just feel his chest to see if there was some movement. My roommate too, she had a patient in the next room, and yeah, he's still alive. You know, we said we wanted a patient to not die in the night because there's nobody around, nobody's coming around, you know, everybody's so busy. It was just panic. Everything was like panic. And all of the nurses didn't want to do it, but she and we were there with the patient. I don't even know his name because they didn't know his name. They just picked him up and brought him in.
You ever talk to your husband about what he was doing while you were doing this?
Yes, well later on. It's in here. He was a student. There were 3 Japanese at the University of Iowa. And they were.
No, I mean,
no.
Well, he was not at Queens Hospital at this time.
No.
December 7th. He was still in Iowa.
He was in Iowa.
Okay.
And so he didn't come back till I was just about ready to graduate. So. But anyway, so he had a bad time. He has a worse time because being Japanese.
We'll talk about him in a few minutes. Tell us a little more about yourself. So, your patient died.
I don't know. When he was still living, 6 o'clock in the morning, I stayed there all night with him, and I just prayed all night. Please don't let my patient die. I didn't want my patient. And same thing with my roommate. Her patient and mine, unconscious. I don't know if they died, but
they made it through the night.
I don't know. They made it through the night. I don't think they would survive though. I don't even know where they were injured or what, you know.
Now, from that point, were you actively involved with volunteering at the hospital?
Well, but then, you see, yeah, whatever they needed us, but mostly it was not really patient care, because we had no training yet. And in the meantime, they dug all these holes in the yard, you know, the front of the Queens Hospital, by the nurses' home. They made the trenches for us to, what do you call them? What do you call those things? They dig in the hole where you go down there, so the
foxholes or like?
Yeah, there's a name
shelters.
for it. Yeah, the shelters. And so we were assigned to a certain, and then when we had
your own shelter?
No, they dug it for us, and then they gave us a gas mask that we had to carry, a bulky old thing that we carried everywhere we went. But then we'd had the drills, and when that thing, the whistle went off, we had these trenches. They had benches in it, and it only held maybe 12 people. So they had all these holes in the Queens Hospital in the front. They dug holes right there in the front in the ground, and I don't know what they covered with. And so when they had a drill, we'd run to our set one, and we'd go down there with our gas mask, and we'd stay there till they blew the whistle or whatever, and then we can come out. So it was really hectic because then we had blackout, no lights, and all the windows were blackened. So, you know, it just was a horrible time, and there was nothing, no buses, nothing, because we couldn't go to university.
So school stopped?
Everything
your
stopped.
Education stopped.
Everything.
How long did it stop? When did you restart your
You know what? I can't remember, but it just seemed forever. You know,
so probably a few months?
Well, but yeah, at least a month.
Yeah.
You know,
So
because
in that
everything, in the
period,
meantime, they were using
you were
the...
working helping at the hospital.
Helping at the hospital. But we had no training. That's the thing that was so sad. We're just learning books right now. And little thing, I could take blood pressure and temperatures like
but
that.
Actually, you learned.
Oh, you learn a lot. You learn a lot from just being with that patient there, you know. With the tubes coming out of his nose. And, you know, I've never seen a person that way. And the person is like dead. And they probably died, I don't know, because there was no life in them when we sat there. They said, they said, if I pull up his lid, could I tell? I even did that. He doesn't move, nothing, so I don't know whether he lived or died. But he didn't look like he was 40 years old or whatever he was. And she had one too, local looking, you know, Japanese, or I don't know.
You don't know if these were from the enemy fire or the you know,
I think it was,
American.
a lot of them was just, the bomb, I don't know what, but they also what do you call it?
Straight, yeah.
Strafed, yeah, people that were walking. So a lot of people had wounds, and mine might have had one in the back, I don't know. I didn't move, he's just completely out.
Because there were two types of casualties, from the Japanese airplanes and also from American, you know, weapons that were fired and it ended up in downtown
But
area.
these are planes, you could see these Japanese, you could see the pilot.
Firing.
And you could see the bottom of the plane had you knew they were Japanese planes.
Firing at people on the
Yeah,
ground.
yeah. Interesting, huh? But it was so hectic that time that you could hear them. We had no doctors. They were all at Tripler because they had so many casualties up there. I said, where are the doctors?
Now, as far as your immediate family, anyone else involved in any kind of stories that they told you about that day?
Well, just my two brothers that one was Violet. He was a terrific letter writer.
And they were in Hawaii?
No, he was only my second one, Manuel was, so he was very active with the military. But I didn't hear too much about what he did, And eventually he was, he's the one that went to China, was sent to China. But he came back already. He was supposed to be an interpreter, stuff like that. But when you go to inside China, the dialects are so different,
How about your father and your mother?
My father,
on that day or about that period?
let's see.
Maui was not that impacted.
No, it wasn't. Yeah. When did Grandpa die? I forget.
In the 60s, I think.
Not my father.
Yeah, I think in the 1960s.
Was it 60?
Mm-hmm. In the 60s.
Oh, anyway, yeah. So my father was always, but you know what? When we were going back to Iowa for Clifford to specialize, my father couldn't stand it. He had to come down to meet him.
Okay, let's talk about Clifford a little bit.
Yeah.
Tell us about him.
Oh, he's so interesting because,
He went to the University of Hawaii.
Yeah, but his grandfather came from Japan, his grandfather, and the reason he married a woman who was an only child and a light housekeeper, only one daughter. So when she